The corporate media verdict is out of the NEC. This is pertaining the ANC-NEC meeting that they held for a few days ago. All the headlines are loving. All the headlines are about the victorious President Cyril Ramaphosa. You should see all the headlines like Ramaphosa, just to paraphrase, Ramaphosa laid down the law. Ramaphosa's side of the wing wins the argument and forces the hand of the NEC attendants into supporting him in his fight against corruption and fraud. The Ace Magashule faction loses the debate, even though a couple of letters were written first before the NEC meeting in order to force the hand and influence the letter which President Cyril Ramaphosa has written before going to the NEC. I saw one of these so-called analysts saying that this letter of President Cyril Ramaphosa was a plea, was a cry to help in order to force the NEC to do the right thing and fight the corruption and fraud. This was a masterful tactic deployed by President Cyril Ramaphosa in order to take over. Remember, going to the NEC meeting, you had Mzwandile Masina out there holding a placard talking about how the president of the ANC, the current president, Mr. Ramaphosa, talking about the CR17 funds. But you know how politicians are. They're not straight to the point. They dilly-dally, they tiptoe around issues. But essentially, he wanted the president to be held accountable. But he lumped up President Cyril Ramaphosa with all the other people of the ANC heavyweights, that if there's anybody has been involved in corruption, in fraud, whom there are court cases pending against them, and also there's a caveat of saying the serious crimes that they're adding into corruption and fraud, that those people should step aside. And then he was asked about his comment on President Jacob Zuma's letter to Mr. President Ramaphosa, and he said, no, I'm not going to comment about that letter. This is not what I'm here about. And remember, speaking of resignation, Mr. Mzwandile Masina once said that if President Cyril Ramaphosa wins the nomination for the presidency of the ANC in Nasrec, he will resign. Remember that, folks? And the irony, now he's the one who obviously wants Mr. President Ramaphosa to resign. So these are politics. Obviously, he was on the side of Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma's side in terms of the person that he wanted to be a president. So it comes with the perks of being a mayor. So that's why he's not resigning, obviously. And this sort of reminds me of the current Minister of Justice, Ronald Lamola. He made the placard fashionable during the NEC meeting of the ANC a couple of years ago, when he was campaigning and lobbying for the previous president, Mr. President Jacob Zuma, to resign. He was now holding the placard, and I guess Mr. Masina now got inspired by Ronald Lamola to do the same. And after this NEC meeting, The top six were on our TV screen. Like as predicted, they always come out and talk about how united they are, how they've agreed about issues. Yeah, Tony Ngeni came in and suggested that the president should resign. He was alone. Nobody supported that. Nobody seconded what he had said. Says, aka the tiger, Guedeman Tashe. And yeah, so everybody in the ANC got the right to voice their opinion. It is good when everybody says whatever that they want to say during the NEC meeting, not outside. We're disappointed about former President Jacob Zuma's penning of the letter in public. The channels he's supposed to come through and talk to us. And my favorite was President Cyril Ramaphosa when they asked him about the letter, where there were elements of Jacob Zuma's quotation about how Mr. President Ramaphosa is a lackey of the white monopoly capital. Are you offended about this insult? And he was like, oh no, this comes with the burden of being occupying the highest seat in this republic. I'm not easily offended. And he quoted an African saying of where they say the highest tree that's up there catches the most wind. It was sort of kind of funny because you cannot say if somebody has insulted you. What's your take of being insulted? You can't say, oh no, I've been insulted before. This is not a biggie. I'm not easily being insulted. No, there was an insult. What do you say about the insult that they're saying? You are a lackey of the white monopoly capital. As usual, slippery, like an eel, evaded such question. And then there was the talk of everybody is not guilty until proven guilty by the court of law, which was said by Ace Magashule, as the president and some of the top six were talking about people who are having pending court cases about corruption and fraud and serious crimes that are supposed to then step aside. Oh yes, they're still going to get their money even though they step aside, they get full pay. That's what the president said. So Isma Hashilo was just trying to come up with that point again of saying, listen, as long as you're not being convicted by the court of law that you're guilty, you're not guilty until proven guilty. And the sub judice issue of where other people are not able to comment on the corruption and fraud cases that they're facing because those cases are in court. So it's still a little bit murky, the situation. And so the NEC obviously now have agreed, right? So now, effectively, and in principle, as the ANC would like to say, all those people who are being accused of corruption and fraud, some of them are now stating that they're stepping aside. Members of parliament like Bongani Bongo, his corruption case is pending, he's stepping aside. Who else? Oh yes, and also an intriguing issue about Andy Lolungisa, whom a couple of days ago he said that he's stepping aside. Apparently spoken to Isma Magashule, who gave him the advice to say, no, step aside from your position, and then you'll come back when you're being vindicated. Then all of a sudden a letter comes through after the NEC meeting written by the Provincial Executive Committee stating that Angelo Lungisa should step down from all his duties. And most people are thinking that this coincide with the letter of which Angelo Lungisa has written to the ANC top 6, requesting them that they should investigate the CR17 campaign funds, the donations. They want to know who has donated to President Cyril Ramaphosa. Could there be other folks who've then been rewarded for donating those amount of money to him, who are now rewarded and are in state-owned enterprises, big positions, and are in cabinet or are in any other form being rewarded now? So the tussle, the hustle, the bustle, and the infight is continuing frantically. And you could agree with the mainstream media, I suppose, that this has been a good move and a good week and a good outcome for the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa of the ANC. Number one, if indeed all those other people that we know are having pending court cases of corruption and fraud are going to step aside, then we would know that this has been a serious issue that the NEC took to heart, that the ANC wants to salvage a little bit of dignity that they're still having, and maybe a couple of few votes that they would have to go to a photo finish win in the upcoming national election in a few years. So we'll see that if this is going to be actualized, to see people actually stepping down. So in principle, he has won, because as you can see, what's going to be happening now with the president at the helm, it basically means that now the NPA, as we know, it's always been said that whomever is in charge, whomever is on the seat at the presidency, wield a lot of power in terms of people who could be prosecuted by the NPA. The president normally is the one who chooses the person at the helm of, in terms of the NPA. So you might as well say that if anybody is going to be accused going forward as accused of alleged corruption, fraud, and high crimes, as they say, would step aside, then we're going to have a huge look at what are the names of those individuals. Which faction are they becoming from? So we'll be watching and doing the countdown to see, oh, okay, these are the people whom it's said that they are on the Zuma faction. Now they are being accused. Could those people being then in the future strategically pinpointed, get accused of certain fraudulent corruption or crime or inappropriate behavior, which would deem them to be prosecuted and be in the court of law, and then as a result step aside, and then that void being filled by the CR17 campaign people? Or will the talk of no one should be taken out of a leadership in the ANC by merely being accused of corruption and fraud? We have to wait until they're proven guilty, as Ace Magashule is saying, throughout and even after the NEC meeting. So this is going to be very interesting as we go forward. So yeah, that's just what's been going on. And to also say that this is a little bit of a win, I saw an article that stated that the DA and I think it was COPE or Banti Holomesa's organization stating that, yeah, this is a little bit of a nice step in the right direction of Cyril Ramaphosa, stating that people accused of corruption and fraud should step aside. So it shows that it's a win for the El Presidente. So we'll see as the days goes by. My name is Mamu G, and thanks for watching the Mamu G show, and I'm out.